Hey everyone, I'm here back with these guys on their phones. Bryce, I'm just kidding. Episode 22, I think. 22 is where we're at, covering the secret sauce, which has to do with Sabbath and putting God first and just simply doing what he says. Obviously, it's a continuation of where we've been and what we've been talking about, but Exodus is finally exiting. We're done. Thoughts on Exodus or this last thing? Hello.
Morning. Yeah.
Morning. I was trying to think
About your Sabbath?
always. No, you asked about the Exodus. And so my mind just started going 1,000 miles a minute in different areas of just things that we're exiting or things that God's pulled us from. Or you said something in the message of like remembering the beginning of like where it started.
Yeah.
Or else you won't remember where you're going. And so just think of all the things that God's brought me out of. And I'm could only guess the things that he'll continue to do. So yeah, exiting.
Yeah. Because at first,
Lighting
lighting up
through his hand only, not my way. So yeah.
Lighting up the bush and calling Moses to something bigger and greater. And the story isn't done, right? We're done with Exodus, but then you go Leviticus and kind of it even goes more into the temple of what happens and all that. But at the end of it, the pillar of fire leading them day by day, wherever they might go. So I thought that was really cool. And I think that's a big thing for me and probably you guys and every Christian is like, don't leave when God says to stay and don't go when don't leave when God's in, you get what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Messing that up. But I think a lot of people, even for me, I'm like, no, I'm going to go do this thing. And then I didn't consult God or I didn't ask him or I didn't question him or seek his face. And then I get down the road doing that thing or making that decision. I'm like, oh, this sucks. Like, it's not a good thing.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, well,
no, that's
totally
obviously
forgot.
from like a believer's perspective. And why do you think it's so important? Like, it sounds maybe a little, I don't know if critical is the right word. Not a nuance, but like extreme maybe of like, but why for believers, like in consulting God before doing something like, and that it's almost like the Moses hesitancy effect of like, he was hesitant to listen and obey God and do what God did. But we are hesitant to go before him to even ask to begin with. And I'm like, I guess would be curious why we think that first and foremost, or don't think to go before him before we do anything, right? And it's like, these guys had to go before him to allow him to go before them just to simply follow. Yet we think we can go and do something and not be led by him or inquire him before doing so. And so, I don't know, I guess you can make it very legalistic. You can make anything legalistic, but like, should I brush my teeth before I shower or after I shower? Lord, tell me. And like, I'm not saying that, but
I hope people don't operate that way.
I wouldn't put it past mankind, but the importance of going before God, all that to be said, the importance of going before him, going before wise counsel, right? Like we just had a conversation of something that's like, hey, what do I do with Kinley in this situation, right? Like you're seeking that advice, you're seeking that counsel to go and take it back to her and like give God the best yes, right? And so it's like how many believers don't do that and then wonder why, why didn't that happen? Right. So that's where I kind of, in the thought of, in the beginning, Moses was hesitant to like, he sees it, right, the eye, right, kind of the Eve syndrome of like, ooh, what's on fire? And it's not burning out.
Being
it's
consumed,
just, right? And then all of a sudden starts talking and you're like, uh-oh, right, like this is real. And it's like, I can't do this. What are you talking about? Right? We don't even approach God in this like, and I'm like, I guess just curious why.
Like reverence and all. Well, I think for me personally, like when I make a decision, I feel like I have it all figured out already.
Yeah.
That's for me 100% of the time. I'm like, I know how to do this. I'm a man. I've been doing this for a while. And then it's like you become sufficient, right? And then you're like, oh, well, I didn't consult God. Like, how would that make him feel? You know what I mean? So I think it's more so.
He's like, I made this. I have it here. Like, you want the secret sauce? Like, here it is.
Yeah. And so I think self-sufficiency for me is what I would answer.
So, there you go.
Yeah, and I think with that, I think we can wrap ourselves into like God doesn't care about this, like mundane. Like he doesn't care when I brush my teeth or get in the shower, like that kind of.
Yeah.
But I think that is so not his characteristics that we see. Like he does care. He does care about every decision you make, and again, don't take this as saying he cares about your brushing your teeth. And like, I'm not talking about that, but he does want you to go to him and include him into your everyday life and the direction you're leading your family and the direction that you're making to be a part of the church and be obedient. Like he wants to be included in those steps and those rhythms and flows in your life. And I think a lot of us think that this is below God's
pay grade, yeah.
right. Like this isn't something I should go to the boss about. I should probably figure this one out on my own. And God's just like, no, come to my feet, bring everything to me. So I think those are the two. And then you have the pendulums in the middle of that. But I think those two, either I can do it myself or this is beneath God and I shouldn't bother him with this.
Yeah, and when we say it's like it's always been about him, it needs to stay there, right?
Yeah.
He's the one who called Moses. He's the one who guided Moses. He's the one who shepherded Moses. He's the one who told Moses to rest. He's the one who gave Moses the instructions. So it isn't like God is telling us, go figure it out on your own anyway. He's saying, I'll be involved in every single piece of this, and I'll give you the steps of the way. But I think part of it is like people want all the steps before they make a step.
Right.
And Moses didn't have any of that. I mean, to some extent, right? We're not going to make a mass generalization, but I think that's the beauty of like the first reiteration of I guess it'd be the last reiteration before they start building the temple, putting it all together, assembling like Legos. He says to rest, and I think that's a big thing. You're gonna work, so don't make the mistake that thinking Christianity is just some walk in the park, or some sit on your butt and say, "Oh, come Jesus, come," but like more so of what do I need to be doing? How do I need to be working? How do I use my gifts and talents and abilities to serve the kingdom? Because the same God of Exodus is the same God of the New Testament when he says, seek first the kingdom. And I think that's the beauty of Sabbath, is it seeks first the kingdom. What's your kingdom want? And then I'll kind of figure out what the world wants. Because the world isn't that hard to figure out. Let's just be honest. Maslow's needs are, what is it? Food, water, shelter, and I'm missing one more. Food, water, shelter, and
Air.
No, let's just say air, right? But if you give those to someone, if I give Kyle food, water, shelter, and air, let's just say that, he's not going to be satisfied. He'll want something more. He'll have desires
He'll be surviving,
and needs,
but not thriving.
Yeah. So we're asking the question: what is the most thriving thing I can do? Which sounds oxymoronic, is to rest.
Well, think about that. You ask a great question. What is the most thriving thing I could do? Right, and we live in such a culture today where it's work, and we like to throw in that work hard, play harder, right? But even in that play harder, like that could easily consume us, right? In a negative,
and not be rest.
Exactly, right? And so I was just thinking about this after listening to your message of like, our world has come to a place where we work 5, 6, 7 days a week, depending on what that looks like, right? Sports and things like that on the weekends. And it's like the building of the distractions to take us away from seeking first his kingdom, to seeking first him. And he's like, look, I don't not want you to work. You need to, right? He doesn't honor a lazy person.
Yeah.
Right. But remember and sit back and reflect on why you're doing this and the why, right? Of everything. Why did Jesus? Why? If your why is not Christ, I think you're working for your own death. You're working for your own exhaustion. You're working for the world. You're working and you're playing right into the palm of what society wants you to do, which is not obey and follow Christ. To not even know what he wants. And I feel like a lot of people get easily consumed with that, whether it's through their works, whether it's through their marriage, whether it's through parenting, whatever those extracurricular things outside of what the kingdom asks for and strives for according to his word. And it could look somewhat different for everyone. Like you said, the world's not that difficult. right? And that's what I love about Scripture. It's like it's going to be if you try to do it outside of this,
Right.
but within this, you'll find that peace. You'll find that purpose. You'll find reason to rest. And like I just think, and I'm like looking back, and I'm like, look at what He's brought me out of. Your question: have you ever looked forward to something in the future, but you first had to get through a task, meeting, or event before, right? And so it's like that you're gonna go through something. You're gonna have to get through it, but you don't have to complete it today.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be accomplished by this time. Like through, and hear me, I'm not saying if you have deadlines and stuff like that through work or the honey-do list
the
that need
Lord
to get
said
done,
it could wait.
right? But like seek first His kingdom and watch what happens. And I sit here and I'm like, I look at how God's like kind of done that for me, right? And I'm like, I say done that for me. Like I obviously had to put in the work. I had to sit in His presence. I had to dwell. There's been times where I think I probably reach out to you guys. I'm like, I don't like this, or I have my frustrations, right? But you point me back to what He says. He's faithful. He'll see you through it, right? What is He telling you to do in this moment of waiting, right? Or whatever that looks like. So I don't know. It's interesting to think like it's probably the most common law, rule, guidance that is commonly acceptingly broken, even within the church community. And I'm just like,
And that's a problem. I hear a lot of people say, well, we're not under the law anymore. What part about taking time away and time off to spend with the Lord is burdensome? And so I have always fought against guys like that. We had a guy at our church and like, I'm not under the law anymore. I don't have to take a Sabbath. I'm like, you don't. By all means, you don't have to take a Sabbath.
why are you so strung out though?
Yeah, why are you so angry though? Like, why are you so mad? Like, why did you treat your wife that way or your kids? And I just don't see. I agree with Scripture when it says His commands are not burdensome. Like, what is really burdensome about me telling Kyle, don't murder anyone? Oh, I can't believe you would ask that of me. Kyle, don't steal from anyone. What?
Unless it's your wife's heart.
But he already owns it. But I think about that Sabbath thing of like, I think God understands that natural rhythm of life, and He sets it up for us from before. Does God need rest? No. But He does it so He's like, listen, if I'm going to take a break and I'm the king of the world and you're not, you can take a break.
And even that, right? Going back and looking when He did take a rest, what did He do in that rest? Looked at everything He had done and said it was good. When do we sit back and look at everything God's done in our life and says, He's good?
Yeah, it's good.
He's faithful.
Really good.
Right?
Well, and it's putting ourselves in the Israelites' shoes here, like starting in the beginning, where they were slaves with no rest. They were beaten to a pulp.
Bricks.
There was deadlines and expectations, and when they didn't get met, it wasn't like, oh, you guys must be tired, let's give you a rest. No, it was, oh, we're going to crack the whip harder. And God's pulled them from that. And now He's saying, hey, we still got to work, but I'm a loving Father, and I'm going to honor you with your work, and it's okay to take a rest. Like, just like what you were saying, like, where does that not? No, you don't have to follow that, but it sounds like a loving thing for a loving God to do to you, to allow you to be like, hey, it's okay to slow down and spend time with me, because I know that what you need is me, not whatever's going on in the world, whatever needs to be done, whatever checkbox or list or obligations that you have put yourself under. And I'm going to say it, that you may be slaved to. I want to free you from that. And be a servant to me and be obedient to me here. Like that your question of like, what do servants do? They obey. They obey. And I don't see where this is burdensome. And we get so wrapped into, I don't know what this looks like. It's not in my calendar. So do I put it in my calendar? And then if I put it in my calendar, is now an obligation, and it's not, now it is burdensome. And it's like, you're missing God's heart for you in this. And you don't need to make it bigger or crazier than it is. For your Sabbath, if whatever you choose to do and acknowledging and connecting to the Lord, if it brings you joy, that's where He wants you.
And I think probably a helpful thing inside of that was really good, Kyle, as far as like thinking about the slave thing. They were working. Let's just call it what it is. They were working. They were going to build the temple. They were building those bricks, whatever it might be. But God is not talking about physical work at all. I mean, look what Jesus says, right? He says, Matthew 11:28, "Come to me, all of you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, because I'm lowly and humble in heart." And then he says, "You will find rest for your soul." Like Sabbath is soul care, right? So I think that's the big part of like, I'm sure a Sabbath is nice when you physically rest. And sometimes that brings some people like soul rest. They're like, oh man, I don't have to do this and that. I'm going to sit back and relax and let my soul just be at rest, because our soul gets weary. But I think the quickest way to refresh it is to what is a psalm? As the deer pants for the water, so my soul thirsts for you, right? He doesn't say, so my body thirsts for you. It's my soul, right? And the reason why the deer is panting, right? Why do dogs and deer pant?
Out of breath.
They're running around, right? They're thirsty. They need something, right? So they're running. And then he says, as my soul pants for you, or desires you. So the deer stops and starts licking up the water to refresh what's in him, right? And then gets going. He doesn't stop and go, I need to do my nails and do my hair and do my eyebrows and all this stuff. That's not a poke at women, I promise. But I think it's like, what brings your soul rest? And so that's a question I would probably ask is, how is your soul? And if people are like, it's fine, I'm going to be like, it's not.
Well, what's the common 3-pronged question that we tend to ask that will speak to that? How you feeding your flesh? How you feeding your soul? And how you feeding others?
Yeah.
Right? Because you can't feed others if your soul's right, and you can't feed your soul if your flesh is being indulged. Right? Yeah. So it is, right? Nice. To your point of like...
That's a big word, Bryce. What you meant?
Sorry, well, I'm over here.
Say it again one more time.
Oh, man.
Rewind it.
No, the 3-pronged question that we always ask of how you feeding your flesh, how you feeding your soul, how you feeding others. You can't feed others if you're neglecting your soul. Right? And there's a reason we asked that prior. And you can't indulge the soul if your flesh is, or you can't feed the soul if you're indulging your flesh. Right? And so it's like there's a reason to that, because he speaks to the importance of that. And this is where I'm like really appreciating, again, learning the literacy of what the scriptures say and what the meaning and the in-between of it, of each of these words really stand for, because it's so easy to read these and be like, I read it. Oh, yeah, this sounds great. He's like, take care of yourself. Find rest in me. That sounds great. And it's like, to your question, how is your soul? How are you finding that in him?
Yeah.
What is it? And this is where I think in today's society, like it looks different for a lot of people, right? And we've had discussions like this because it is for the A-type personalities or the black and white mindsets. It's like, well, I work 9 to 5. I promise. I Monday through Friday. Saturday, right, is chore day and errands and things of such sort, or any dinners and things like that. Because like when you read the scriptures, like, don't even light a fire.
Yeah.
Don't take out, right? And so I've seen people personally who like legalize this and like, I can't do nothing and I will do nothing and our household will do nothing because it is our Sabbath. And you're like, that sounds exhausting, right? Like are you okay? Blink if you feel safe in your home.
Yeah.
Like that's not what I believe the scriptures are referring here. Like, how is your soul being refreshed? Me being with people or relaxing.
But it could.
It could.
If that's for them.
It very well could. But that's like, so we see people who don't have this firm understanding, and I think to my original question in the beginning of like, this is probably why a lot of believers, it's easy for them to neglect this because it hasn't been paid in for them clearly, right? Yeah. Or the question is being asked, how are you feeding your soul? I love one of the things about when we ask people, new to Awaken or why they're coming, like, one, accountability is always one, but two, it's like they care for your heart and soul, right? At the matters of the heart and matters of the soul, before they care about the tangibles outside of that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, amen.
And I think he says, Exodus 31, if we go back to when he first mentions it, the Lord said to Moses, tell the Israelites, you must observe my Sabbaths. And here's the kicker. It is a sign between me and you.
Like, what do you think that means, a sign?
Like,
help the people understand that.
Well, it's just like it's a proclamation. It's a guarantee. It's a promise. It's a reminder to you and me. This is an individual thing between the Lord and the Israelites, obviously y'all. But I think when you see that, it's when I take a Sabbath, it's not for Kyle.
Yeah.
When I rest from all my work and dilling and wheeling and all that stuff, it's not for you. Sure. It's between me in him.
But check this out.
And
I
think
do
that's a big
benefit
thing.
from that.
Yeah, you benefit.
I get to
Yeah.
benefit from that, which is beautiful. And so back
But
to
I ain't thinking about you, right? That's
No,
the beauty.
right.
And I don't expect Kyle to take his Sabbath to think of me.
Sure.
You know, if he wants to hang out with me on a Sabbath, great. It's a sign between God and Kyle. It's a sign between God and Bryce. And so
were other nations doing this? Were the
no.
Egyptians doing
Yeah,
this?
no.
So think about this. No other nation that we know of, right, was told to do this or was doing this. So think about that. It was a sign between God and them to set them apart. Why are you doing nothing today? I need to be rejuvenated.
Yeah.
My soul needs to be replenished, refreshed, whatever that looks like.
And so the practical part about that, I have to ask you guys a question. What's the practical part? Because I hear you say, oh, you know, I work 9 to 5 and all that stuff. And that's great. Work is supposed to be a worship place. But why don't people take a whole day off? I hear you say, oh, I got chores and stuff. What do we do practically to make that day happen? Because we can do chores. Hey, if that refreshes your soul and you can jam out to worship music and all that stuff, hey, I'm not saying that's wrong. But this is like, I can't worship the Lord. But what would it take for someone, for most of the world, to have that, practically speaking? Because I hear you say, oh, I got chores on Saturday or Sunday or whatever it might be.
So how can they make a whole day of it?
Mm-hmm.
It's a great question. That's probably the $1 million question. Because
I'm just like trying to. I don't live the 9 to 5 life, so I don't have a great life example. But in my home, I can make it happen. Like with my schedule and where we are in our life right now, like the 4 days off between when I have to be at the fire department.
4 days off.
It's very feasible for me to make one of those days all about the Lord and my time.
AFR is hiring.
Always hiring. Very short-staffed. Which me signing up for overtime could bother that time, and it could mess that time up. But for me, and this is the conversation me and Christy had. Like this is where I've always honored Matt, and respected Matt and his Sabbath. Like how many times I've been told no by Matt when asking him to do something on a Friday morning / afternoon. It does do me a service when he tells me, sorry man, it's my Sabbath. I'm gonna have to say no.
Yeah.
Like that reminds me of dang, not jealous, but I can't make every Friday be my Sabbath. I can't get that calendar life down. So me and Christy talked about what does it look like to put it in our calendar, or when we don't really, when I'm doing my Sabbath, I'm never like, this is my Sabbath. I am, and maybe that's the wrong mindset, that I can maybe be more
holding yourself hostage. Is that what you're saying?
Well, no, just more intentional about calling it what it is. For me, my Sabbath usually is a physical thing. I go for a long run or a long bike ride and put headphones on and worship and connect with the Lord in that way, where it is just me by myself in a time of physical suffering, where I can lean more on him and intentionally cry out to him and intentionally connect with him and ask him for things maybe that I wouldn't normally on my days with him in the word and things. But do I label it that? Am I intentionally thinking this is my Sabbath time with the Lord?
Yeah.
I could be better at identifying that. And what the original question of can we in America and the way our lives are set up a full day? I can confidently say that I could do that for sure. Now the 9 to 5 people, I don't know how you do 9 to 5 anyway. So where that works in,
what does that mean to a
I
firefighter?
picture it Sunday for you guys, going to church, spending time with God's people, spending time serving God's people. I think that could be a place of joy, and then maybe making that afternoon and evening. No, we're not going to do anything that doesn't bring us joy. We're not going to break our backs food prepping for the week and getting the laundry ready. We're going to trust the Lord that we'll be able to figure it out Monday and go forward from there.
Yeah. And I think you just said something important. We're not going to do that because we've already done it throughout the week. Work will set up your rest, right? So if it is chores, divvy up the chores throughout the week and make that happen, right? If it is food prep, prep a day before or do something a little different. I'm a big proponent of doing stuff like that. To work is work. It's gonna cost you sweat, blood, and tears. So you do that because you know, oh man, I get this day and it's coming. And so I just gotta grit my teeth a little bit and make it happen. But I'm not doing it because, well, it's an obligation. It's out of like a standing ovation to the Lord, right? Mm-hmm. I'm going to work really hard at this. I'm doing it as unto the Lord, Colossians 3:23. And then you get to Sabbath and you're like, oh,
I earned this.
Breathe.
Yeah, this is so good. Like I get to sit here and do this with you.
This time of year, I think, is the favorite for me on Sundays specifically, just because if we don't go out to eat with somebody or have somebody over, we come home. Typically, the car ride home, the kids are passing out, so we get to go put them down.
Yeah.
And then we'll make some food. Haley will typically either go and sit down and start doing her nails and doing nail stuff, and I get to flop on my couch, turn on the TV, and enjoy some football.
Yeah.
This time of year, right? Catch the end of a game that's on or whatever that may look like. And for me, I'm like, I get to start thinking about the conversations we had and whatnot and the follow-ups to be had while, like, watching something that, like, I enjoy for the most part, especially if my team's winning. But if not, then it's like whatever. But for me, in this time of year right now, in this season, like that's very enjoyable and restful for me. Like I appreciate just coming home, thinking about that. It reminds me that I'm getting older and that I enjoy such things. But in those little moments, right? And we're just like the house is quiet, and then all of a sudden either you hear a baby cry or you hear toys going off in the room, and you're like, all right, here we go. Yeah. Right. So it's, I don't know if picking and choosing is the right way to put it for the 9-to-5ers, but making the most of it, right? My mornings with the Lord is definitely kind of like a reset Sabbath, kind of reverence, awe, right? And then I'm being fueled to get ready to go and do what he says.
Technically, you could have a daily Sabbath if you wanted.
And for me, that's kind of what the 9-to-5 does in that sense, right? Especially since I don't work out like I should as much anymore in the mornings. But having that reset and being poured into and just sitting there sometimes, I'm like, why? Or how come? Or was that you? Or was that my flesh? Like, and just having that moment with God and then being essentially just refueled for him, by him, from him. So,
yeah, gathering thankfulness, gathering refreshment. Yeah, makes sense.
Prayer is a huge, I think, opportunity, the moment of just sitting there too.
But I think the big question goes back to, if you can answer this question, what refreshes my soul?
Yeah.
And I think football's great, but it's not God, right? To some people it is, and I'm like, that's weird. But I think we can put all kinds of things in that. But what refreshes your soul? Yeah, when I don't have to be anywhere or talk to anyone, and I can just be with the Lord and just read and journal some things, write some things down, put some things in my head, put some things on paper, and you're just like, man, that's good. And I don't have to go like, oh, I got a 9 a.m. that I got. No, I'm like going through YouVersion or opening my Bible, kind of reading side-by-side things, going to Blue Letter Bible and doing studying for myself, for my own soul. I'm not doing this for you guys, but it's like when I get there and I'm like, man, that was good. Man, and thank you, Lord. Thank you for this word. Thank you for your direction, your guidance. And then it's like, all right, now it's 8 a.m. Now
game time.
What do I need to do? Oh, wait. This is still about you. Oh, Lord, what do you want me to do? So I think that's a big thing.
Yeah.
Find something that refreshes your soul, because the work is still ahead, and it's not meant to be burdensome. The rest isn't meant to be burdensome. I guess I would say that. But any other thoughts there?
I just think it's that time with the Lord, whether you're labeling your Sabbath or not, it's truly the only way of not growing weary of doing good. Because without him pouring into you and reminding you of like his goodness and his love and all of that, this work in the ministry, this work as a believer and follower, you will just dry up so quick. And I think we've all have seasons in our life where we felt that. And a couple of the conversations around this weekend that I've had, I've seen that. I like, and that's one of our main questions too, when we've hit a rut or if something in someone's life's going awry, is like, well, what's your time with the Lord look like? And it's always that response of like, well,
could be better.
okay, well, I think that's
Make it
probably a
happen.
place to start. Like, and again, it's because how can if being a branch on the vine, like, are you connected? Are you receiving that nourishment and that growth and that the water and just of all the illustrations that are so life giving, but we choose not to be connected to the life that's giving. So
I'm going to go in the desert.
yeah,
What?
and so, like, don't grow weary of doing good. How do you practically do that? Well, you stay connected to what's good, and that constant.
Apart from me, you can do nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, and I think it's just a good reminder of, like, he's a good father who's telling you,
I know you need this.
I know you need me. Spend time with me. Connect with me. And yeah, if you want to buck up against that and say you don't have time for it or you're too busy,
It's just yeah. It's
you're choosing to be miserable. Like, it's an active choice to make things in life harder. And I love that quote: "Do it right, do it light, do it wrong, do it long." You're choosing to do it long. You're choosing to.
When we watch the Israelites do that,
Right.
coming from here, right?
Yeah.
They don't remember this, and they do it long for many, many, many years,
Right.
Because
and,
they did it wrong.
and they're saying, let's just go back to Egypt where we are
We're
forced to
slaves.
be slaves and no rest. And we get mad at the Israelites, but it's just us, like we get mad at them and because it's us. And man, it's just, his ways are not a burden. His yoke is light. And like that constant reminder from Jesus's words of, and if you feel beat up and grinded down, and it's time to spend more time with me.
Well, I think it's important to say in those situations when people buck up and I got this, and you're witnessing the burnout, right? They got black eyes and all the lines and darkness under their eyes. You're essentially saying you don't need God and you put yourself in God's place. Yeah. And that's where I think the crash comes, and the warning, lights flashing beforehand to kind of tell you, like, he's like, you're about to crash. Not because I'm going to make you crash, but because you're without me and you're going to crash every time without me. Mm-hmm. And so the people who buck up to that are, I don't need to do this, or this is more important. Those are called idols. And you have put those before Christ and said, those hold more reverence and importance in my life than God does. Those sustain me. Those are allegedly, supposedly refreshing my soul, because more likely than not, we see people who are chasing money do this, right? Not prioritizing relationships, right? Yeah. You have made those things idols in your life and said, no, these take precedence over Christ or my relationship with Christ. And the funny part of that, and more sad than funny, I guess, is just watching people try to justify that. No, it's not. That's not true. I know I'm not God. And then you're like, listen to yourself. So be cautious with that.
Do what they believe.
Yeah. Say that again.
People say what they think and do what they believe. It's
some crazy thing.
With the fruit.
So then there's Sabbath, and then there's the giving. It's probably one of the most prolific chapters in the Old Testament about giving. Everyone who had a willing heart came and gave. And I don't know how to convince people. Not that I am trying to, but I'm not going to try very hard, because I always think, if I have to convince you for a couple things, if I have to convince you to go tell people about Jesus, to go evangelize, there's something wrong here.
Well, and you're going to have to continue doing so.
Yeah. If I have to convince you and be your cheerleader to go tell you to go give when God says to give, I'm going to give up on you. Like, let's be honest. If I'm going to tell you to do anything that God has already said over and over and over and over and over and over again, and I have to try to, like, win you over to this side, I get fearful for people like that. So I just think...
Well, I think it points to this is what they're looking for.
Yeah.
And you say it all the time. Congratulations. You got all that you're
Well, Scripture says that, right? Yeah. I mean, the applause of men is dangerous. But I think the giving portion, man, I've had plenty of experiences in my life and heard other people, like, when they give... not out of abundance, but of what they've got, they see God's hand and blessing. So I just think it's just a reminder. Everyone at the church gives, and everyone at the church works. I don't know how you guys take over, because I don't know how to make that more clear, when Scripture literally is saying the entire Israelite community did this. They left, and everybody whose heart and spirit was moved came and brought.
Yeah.
So when your heart is moved, go and bring or come and bring, right? When you say, man, I do see they need help in kids, and I do see that I could be a light and an example and a gospel share in there. I'm going to go do it. Not, well, I'm just not that good at it. No one was, in this passage, no one was good except that B&O, Behelalo and Ozobilla, whatever. No one was good, but someone taught them, and then they just showed up and did the work.
Willing heart to learn.
And the funny thing is, I didn't bring this up, but at the end of, before we read Exodus, the end of it is 34 through 38. The previous 20 verses, Bo, they don't get any credit. It says Moses completed the tabernacle. Moses set up the tent. Moses hung the curtains. Moses did this. Moses. And that's it, right? And so it's even thinking about that. I don't think those two dudes cared, because in their head they knew who did it. They weren't against Moses. They were like, he's our leader. He gets credit for that because he told us what to do. This is awesome. And I think people in that portion, I think, would have a problem. Well, I did this. Bryce didn't do that. I did it. You're working for this. So I don't know. I didn't even bring that up on Sunday, but because there was way too much to bring up. But
I think there's a cool piece to this. You could reverse engineer it and also say and I say this because we're in a position, the church can be in a great position at times to also do this for its people, right? Come together and be the support for the people because of the faithfulness in this regard, right? And so I think we probably don't. There's probably not a lot out there that you're seeing on your reels and social medias and YouTube shorts or whatever, right? Where you get to see the church come and do the outpouring and the goodness and the rewards, the faithfulness, the fulfillment of faithfulness because of people doing this.
right.
Right. And I think that's a beauty. You always hear the negative nagging of it, right? Oh, big buildings, big lights, smoke machines, all tech, all this other silly stuff. And you're like, that's micro compared to what you're missing out on.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's just this is the input, this is and then the output, right? Because they did this and
right.
the willingness of this, right? So I don't know if that's you and you're struggling with that, or you're in a position where you don't fully understand, or whatever that may be. This is something okay to talk about and ask about, because a lot of people get hung up and caught here, and it stops them from moving forward. And so ask, what does this look like for you? I love at what we do. We don't hone in on somebody and we're like, oh, we know you're a 6-figure salary individual. Why aren't you doing this? We don't do that, right? Everyone whose heart was moved, spirit came, brought willingness. I'm missing it somewhere here. Sorry. But out of the willingness of their heart.
You just read it. Yeah,
right?
They're willing.
And so it's that's what we're looking for, discipleship opportunities, not legalism.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of people get caught in that.
Yeah, I think it's just simply asking, it's one or two. This is what it is. Either you're a consumer of the church
Yes.
or you're a contributor. That's the only options you get.
And that's my story. I grew up in the church and got to a point where it was my choice to go to church or not. And I remember my heart being in a spot of well, what can the church do for me? Even to a point of where I was leading a C group within this church, and I know it was never checked on. My response of what the lack of what the church was doing for me, it was me run away. Not go try to fix the problem or address the problem or make this better within the church. My own reflection on that was oh, they don't care and the church isn't doing anything for me, so I'm just going to stop being the church. And there was after that season of my life, I wasn't a part of the church or the body, and I was a consumer, and that was a problem on my end. Now, did the church handle things perfectly? No. They're people and human just like I am. But my responsibility of being a part of the body, I neglected because I wasn't being met in that consumer mentality. So if you see a problem in the church and see somewhere it could be shored up and be better, hey, maybe that is God saying that is your responsibility to the body, to step in and to be a fix, to be
poking on your heart.
Yeah.
That place.
Don't run away from the problem. Be a problem fixer in that part of the body that you could be a part of and move forward in. And so I think, it's those two. It's that consumer mentality of, we don't see that anywhere in the body where a body part gets to say what they want to the head And what are you going to do for me, head of the church, as the pinky toenail? Not calling anyone that specifically, but that
still serves purpose.
That seems very foolish to do in the position that you are of the body.
Yeah.
Not the proper response of like, I am a part of the Church of Christ and I want to be a part of it. How can I best serve his people? How can I best be a part of this church? And whether that's your financial responsibility or your service responsibility of, again, it's not a burden to be a part of God's people and a part of God's mission. But when my heart posture says, well, what can this mission and what can this church do for me? Again, a conversation needs to be ahead of, I think we have a different biblical understanding of what the church is meant to be.
Yeah.
And what your role and your play in it is. And that's just a heart posture conversation of, it's not about me.
Yeah.
It's always about him.
Well, I love what you said, Matt. You said we cannot be true worshipers of Christ and participants of the kingdom if all we are doing is looking to consume and to see what we can get from it.
Right.
We run into this, I feel like, more often than not. And you talk about bucking up. It's fun. Again, it's funny to me, but sad at the same time to watch people go, whoa, wait, but, and you're like,
yeah, there's something that's scratching and they're getting it. Yeah.
And I'm like, no. No. This is it's not about you. And you nailed it with that. And so watching that, it's like, maybe ask yourself that this week. Where is it that you're just taking and consuming and not giving back or putting back in? Or you're not delayed obedience is still disobedience. Right? Of that tugging at, like, hearing you say, like, is God telling you to go and do something but you're not doing it?
Yeah. Yeah, I saw this thing on Facebook of I guess he's a traveling evangelist. So he has a home church, but he's gone a lot. He said he was gone 3 weeks out of the month. So one week he was there and they were asking for help with their coffee team. And the evangelist is like, yeah, I hope someone pays attention to this. And he said he just felt like the conviction, like, boom, hit him right in the heart. And he's like, oh, and it's funny. He turns around. He literally tells the story. He turns around and is looking at the guy behind him because he thought, for sure, God must have sent this, and it's for him. It just hit me. And so he turns around. The guy's like, what? Right? And then he turns back to his wife. He says, hey, we are going to serve on coffee. And he said that his wife goes, no, you are going to serve on coffee. That was meant for you. So he goes to the team lead or whatever and says to the team lead, hey, I'm willing to serve on coffee, and but the only thing is I'll only be here 1 week out of the month. And the person goes, great, we can definitely use you. So he tells a story about him beginning to serve, and he goes, the coffee sucked. He said it was disgusting. So you know what I did? I started bringing our own coffee, and I started contributing and making our coffee. Like, I bought it from the store, brought it, and then I saw that the cups, they sucked. They burnt your hand. It was hot. So I bought better cups. And he's like, then the sugar, not my sugar. So I brought different sugar. And he said, what I realized is over and over again, I started making things better. And he says, in the, 52 weeks out of the year that I was there, I had more conversations serving coffee than I ever would have sitting in a pew.
Amen.
He says, and that's just one time a week. And this is a guy who goes and preaches the gospel. So even him being connected with the Lord, just preaching the gospel, I thought that was really cool. So maybe the Lord is shooting you. Bam. Oh, don't turn around and look at other people and say, what is the Lord calling me to do?
Big arrow in your eye. Hey, you. Sorry.
But I thought that was funny. It was like his heart for wanting to see things get better, wanting to see people connect.
It's obedience.
And he just said, yeah, I'm going to go do this. And
Didn't put it off on
he's thinking
somebody
is
else.
for the dude behind him or for his wife. And I just thought that was I don't know who the guy is. I've just started seeing some of his stuff, and I'm like, that's funny, like how God works. It's an individual poke in your heart. So hopefully something pokes your heart. But any other thoughts? That's I'm done.
Yeah, giving, being obedient, good stewarding, resting.
Keep it simple.
Obey God and die.
And be forgotten.
Yeah.
That's good.
That is the human life. If you're
Set apart.
him.
Set apart. Those things are supposed to set you apart.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think and recognizing and asking the question, and how you rest, how your soul's refreshed, how you're giving and stewarding that well.
And go
Like,
from
how
there.
does that set you apart?
Amen. All right.
Yeah.
Sabbath sets you apart. Set yourself apart with Jesus. All right. Amen. Have a great week of worship.